husband. He has been wanting me to make him something like this. A Marine Corps emblem. I enlarged this on the copier and cut out the paper pieces. I used oak and red heart, padauk, blue pine, walnut, more blue pine, and leftover pine tongue and groove boards that I used in the guest room on the wall. One thing I should have done differently before starting this project was to draw or trace the picture instead of just copying the picture that I had. When I enlarged it, it made the picture lines all fuzzy, and that's not good. So I ended up changing things along the way as I worked on the project. A little history on the husband and his Marine Corps experience. He joined the Marines in June of '75. He did his boot camp training in San Diego at a place called the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, or MCRD. Then he went to Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. Then he went to Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, California. At first he trained as a baker, and before he ever started being a baker, he was retrained as a corrections guard. They didn't need any bakers, but they needed correction guards. And his rank when he got out was E4, which was a corporal for him. He talked about how they were treated as scum of the earth all through training, and then the day of boot camp graduation, they were all of a sudden Marines. My sander needed new sandpaper, so I changed it real quick, and I discovered that I can use a small bicycle pump to air up the bladder. Then it was outside again to sand the letters and some of the other pieces. Even though my pattern wasn't real great because of those fuzzy lines and everything, it really only had one area that was really like an intarsia, which was the earth. Everything else was just individual pieces. And the ribbon was more intarsia-like, but I changed it so that it was more just individual pieces too. Then of course my hand sanding inside. As I was working on the eagle, I was thinking of the emblem and how the eagle was like of a gold color. But then as I was working on it, I was thinking, well, wouldn't it be cool if the eagle had a white head like a bald eagle does? You know, an eagle for the United States. So I decided to make an eagle head out of holly, which is pretty white. And then I made the beak of the eagle out of yellow heart. So since I had already cut out the head and the beak in the walnut, I just took the tape off of those and I put them on the holly and on the yellow heart, and I was able to use that as a little pattern to cut out the pieces. So I worked on shaping the eagle. Then I cut out the letters and numbers on the newly designed ribbon. Then I sanded the eagle. I used natural shade Danish oil on all of the pieces, and I used a rag for the big pieces, and then I filled in the nooks and crannies with a small brush. More on husband's marine experience. He told me about one time during boot camp while he was doing a 3-mile run with all the guys in formation, and there was another soldier behind him, of course, in the formation. Must have slipped or something, but pushed on husband, which made him slip and step into a hole in the road. Husband calls his instructors DIs, or drill instructors. In the Army, we always called them drill sergeants. But anyway, he calls them DIs, and he said the DI asked him, which foot did you hurt? And husband responded, left foot, sir. And in the Army, we never called him sir either. We called him sergeant. But in the Marines, they call him sir. And so husband's like, left foot, sir. And the DI, he went and stomped on his left foot, which broke it. And husband spent an extra 5 weeks in boot camp because of that. So he ended up being there for 17 weeks instead of 12. But he was meritoriously promoted out of boot camp, which I don't know if that is worth 5 weeks of your life. I rigged up a dowel and made a jig, I guess, to make a circle-shaped backer from this piece of hardboard. Then I cut it out, I sanded the edge, and I prepared the back with a hanger, my size corner signature, and a Bible verse. I am using Joshua 1:9. It says, remember that I commanded you to be strong and brave. Don't be afraid, because the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. I figured even a Marine could use encouragement from God at times. Once the Danish oil dried, I glued everything to the backer. And cleaned up any squeeze out with a small brush and water. I was going to make the rope out of wood, but ended up using real rope or cord, and this is mostly because of the pattern having those fuzzy lines that made pieces that are supposed to sit really close together not fit really well. But I like how the rope looks, and I did this on the other anchor I made, and I liked it. Then I burned in the eagle eye. Well, I showed this to husband, and he said, can you put an oak frame around it? So I'm going to try to do that. So I rigged up another circle making jig, and I used the router to make the outer circle and the inner circle. And I made a few passes on the inner circle to make it wider so the project could sit on a little lip of oak, like a rabbit, I suppose. Then I cut it out on the scroll saw, and I used a heavy-duty blade. I sanded a lot of it, trying to hide all the router dings, and that seemed to work well. I measured out where the ribbon hangs over and chiseled those areas out, then hand sanded it all. Then I put a coat of Danish oil on that. So husband just wanted this as a memory for his Marine Corps years.
Hoorah! Semper Fi! Once a Marine, always a Marine!
Okay, I think it's dry. I don't want to glue it until husband sees the frame to make sure it is what he is thinking. And turns out he likes it. Okay, well there it is. All done. Yay! So thanks for joining me, everybody. And we'll just see you next time. Bye!
Don't tread on me!